Man, appreciate you, Greg. Appreciate all the nice sentiments, and thank you guys for being here. Obviously, a lot going on this weekend and a lot going on in the world, so thank you for taking time out of Easter weekend to be here and learn a little football. Again, we're pretty big on open communication, so if you guys get in touch with us, hopefully you take something from this, and hopefully I can take something from some of you guys. But appreciate your time. Appreciate, for those of you guys coaching high school ball out there, really thankful for how communicative you guys have been. I'd be lying to you if I said that we had all the answers in terms of the perfect way to handle a global pandemic when it comes to recruiting. And you guys have been very receptive and informative when it comes to us calling up about your kids and getting to know you guys in our first year as a staff. So thank you for that. On that note, safety is a big thing, so I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you guys, please encourage your players. We all want our guys to work out and stay in shape. I know certainly we do here, but to stay out of group settings as much as possible. I know that speaking on behalf of our staff, nobody's going to get offered from posting videos of pickup 7-on-7 ball in the park, okay? But what it might do is prolong the period of time that it takes us to get on the road and actually eval your kids, okay, especially the 21s going into their senior year. So the more that we can emphasize that, the better. Again, any info or video or whatever it may be that you guys are able to provide for us in the interim, we really appreciate it. You guys have been great, okay? And then on the note of recruiting, for those of you guys who don't know, okay, I recruit the northwest part of the state of New Mexico, as well as central Texas, that stretch from Waco down 35, past San Antonio into South Texas, okay, some pockets of West Texas around El Paso, and then the Bakersfield area of California, north of Los Angeles, as well as quarterbacks all over the country. Okay, so if you guys got a gunslinger and somebody who can play at this level, shoot them my way, and we'll make sure we get eyes on them. Okay, and I'm going to start this share here. All good?
Yep, we got you, Coach. You're good.
Straight? Awesome.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
so we're going to talk about the way that we mentally develop the quarterback, okay, here at New Mexico. And why? Why is this important? Well, as you guys see, and it's year to year and it's ever evolving, defense is changing. It's becoming more complicated. The position of quarterback is only getting harder each season and within the season as defenses evolve. You know, I know we turn on recruiting tape and sometimes we watch what some of these kids are up against, and I'm like, hell, like I'm glad I don't have to coach that kid, because some of the things that you guys do defensively at the high school level and face is pretty complex. And I know that, you know, personally, I've been lucky to be at a couple places where we face some very exotic defense, and everybody wants to sit there in the spring and say, man, that spring ball defense, the post safety's at 5 yards in the boundary, and there's no way they're going to do that in a game. Well, be thankful if you get to face that, okay? Because everywhere I've been where there's been a good quarterback, it's been because he's had to face exotic defenses in his training against his own defense. And I know certainly in ours, Coach Long and Coach Gonzalez, they're going to throw everything at you. So we get the brunt of it every day, and I'm thankful for it because it makes our guys better. Okay, before I begin on any of this, I want to put this information out there because obviously with a lot of participants in the group, it's a little bit difficult. For some of you guys who have been in earlier sessions, okay, you can type questions and Greg is going to facilitate some of those, okay? But if we don't get to you, or maybe you want maybe a more in-depth response, my Twitter direct messages are open, right? So my Twitter's right there. You send it to me. You don't even have to follow me. Maybe you're like, man, I don't want to see you all over my timeline. Great. Not offended, okay? But you can send a message to me, and I'll get them answered after this. You can't tweet at me because I can't answer those legally if you're a high school coach, right? But if you send it as a direct message, I will get to them. And then you see my email address there, okay? So if you guys have some questions about this presentation or things that we're doing here, please feel free to send them my way, okay? And I will get them answered in as timely a manner as I possibly can, okay? So before I begin, before I actually get to this stuff, going back to that in terms of the questions, okay, because the number one question that I get, as I'm sure a lot of you guys get, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to ask, is what do you guys do for drill work? Okay, what do you guys do for drill work on a daily basis? And for us, the quarterback position doesn't necessarily get a lot of time by itself. But two things that I really, really believe in. One, warm-ups does not consist of just playing catch for us. And we're going to try and make as many different game throws in warm-ups as we get loose as we can possibly manufacture. One of the guys that I learned from in this whole deal was really big on that, and I took that and kept that, and I'll be doing that for the rest of my career. And so we'll start with our guys 7 yards apart and work only release, right, where their arm's up here and they're not working a throw in motion and they're working just release on the ball. Because how many times do you really talk about rotation and spin on the ball during practice? You don't. You talk about scheme, you talk about answers, you talk about footwork, but you don't talk about that. And then we'll progress from there and we'll work drift throws and check downs and arm angles and things that we can do from 7 to 10 yards, okay? And then we'll progress, right, and we'll do a two-step crossover drop at 10, right, to work their feet. And as we work into bubble game, right, as we move maybe to 15 yards, okay, we're going to work our inside zone footwork and we're going to throw bubbles off of it, or we're going to work our power footwork, okay? And so we're going to change those things up every single day, right? Warm-up is not to be wasted. It's an extra individual period for us, okay? And based on the emphasis of the day, right, if today's a big third down day, we're going to work depth in our drops and we're going to work moving them in the pocket. And, hey, it's 2 hitches and a slide and it's throwing on the run, right? We'll build some concepts in there. Offset with your partner. You're working this concept. Here's where your eyes should go. All the way up to the point where we're 40 yards apart and we're working play action off of inside zone, drop, slide, 2 hitches, look off the safety and throw the ball deep, 40 yards to get your arms loose. Okay, so that's one. That's really, really big, is use warm-ups to your advantage. Secondly, the hardest thing for our guys to do at the college level is to get comfortable being uncomfortable in the pocket. And a lot of these guys, you guys may have them, guys on your high school team, he's the best player on the team, right? He's better than everybody else, and when things break down, he can escape, he can run around, he can chuck the ball downfield. And that's all well and good, right? He may be a really good athlete. That's all well and good. Okay, when everybody on the field is equally athletic, right, we need to get comfortable being uncomfortable in the pocket. And so whereas a lot of coaches traditionally are going to use hurdles and agile bags and things like that to work pocket footwork, we're always going to use defensive line pop-ups, right? So you guys know the big 6'5" things that you have to haul ass across the field and they weigh 1,000 pounds. Okay, we're going to set those up using a variety of drills, okay? Maybe it's in a line where they have to work up and back through the chute, sliding up and back, and I'm going to beat the hell out of them with those things. One, because it's fun. I like beating the hell out of our quarterbacks, and then it enforces ball security, okay? But more importantly, these guys have to get used to throwing with something 6'5" standing in their face, right? And if you looked across the country, I would venture to bet that 98% of teams do not hit the quarterback in practice, all right? And so we need to get our guy comfortable being uncomfortable. So we will do that. We'll manufacture a pocket with those defensive line dummies, and I'll throw those things all over the place, make them slide here, make them slide there, okay? But it's the best way that we can simulate throwing with things in your face, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend subbing those things in there as much as you can. So, again, those are the two things I really, really believe in when it comes to drill work. If you need something more specific, again, please feel free to reach out, and I will explain that a little bit more in depth to you. Okay, things that we look for in our quarterbacks. One, the kid's got to be competitive, right? That's non-negotiable. You will never win as a program with a quarterback who is not dying to win on every play, right? If it doesn't kill that kid to lose, you really don't have a chance to be a good offense or a good team, because ultimately you want that guy to be the guy in control of the reins, right? So competitive is a no-brainer. We can see that on film. We want a guy who we have to teach to slide, right? He wants to score touchdowns and he wants to get first down so badly that we have to tell him, hey, bro, ease up a little bit, right? We need your body for a whole season, okay? We don't want kids who run out of bounds and who are scared. We want kids who are going to play the game hard. Toughness has to be the toughest kid on the field. He's got to stand in there and take shots, okay? A lot of times you can't see him. He's got to do it play after play. Had the great fortune of sitting in on a meeting with Peyton Manning at one point in time, and I thought it was really cool you had this guy here who at some point or another in his career has held virtually every record there is to hold at the highest level of football. And he told us, the only record that I ever really cared about, and this is great to share with your players, the only record that I ever cared about was Brett Favre's record of number of games in a row that I started. And I didn't get that one. And I wanted that record because what it did was it told my teammates, hey, you guys can depend on me. I'm going to be there, right? I'm going to show up. I'm going to be on the field. And for a guy who threw 500 and something touchdowns and 55 in a season and 70,000 yards and 2 Super Bowls, first ballot Hall of Famer, he said, I wanted my guys to know that I was going to show up. So I think that's great. Selflessness, it can't be about you. You're not a stats guy. You're not a show guy. You're a guy who's there to work and a guy who's there to lead the team. Okay, playmaker, they got to have somewhat of the it factor, so to speak, right? When things get hard, when things break down, when things don't go perfectly, can you make something out of nothing? Okay, and then are you a leader? Are guys on the team going to believe in you when you step into the huddle or onto the field? Okay, and that kind of encapsulates all of the previous intangibles. So the tangible qualities, right? Okay, that's great, right? You want a leader, okay? But what do I need to tell my kids in terms of what you're looking for? Quick release is the first thing. Kids got to be able to spit the ball out. Certainly for what we do, we're looking for guys who can get it out on time, okay, and be decisive. Arm strength, which is somewhat of a misnomer in my opinion. It's not necessarily how strong your arm is, but how much velocity can you generate with your throwing mechanics, okay? Lower body being just as important as upper body. Athletic ability, we need kids who are athletes to play in this offense. You can't be a sitting duck, okay? Are you accurate? And do you show a variety of throws on your film, right? If we turn on your recruiting film, is everything you throwing the ball 60 yards down the field? Because I can tell you we're not going to do that every play, and neither is anybody else, right? And then ultimately, are you not scared? And this is the hardest one to coach, okay? Are you a guy who somebody misses their block up front, right, and there's a free rusher coming into you and you have the ability to make a throw for a touchdown? Okay, are you going to step into that throw, or are you going to shy away from that throw and throw it over somebody's head, right? Do you stand in with your eyes down the field, or do you pull your eyes down and look to scramble? Okay, job of the quarterback. And I probably tell these guys every day, right? I reiterate these 3 things before we go out to practice. Your job as the quarterback. 1, protect the football. Okay, it all starts with ball security. I know Coach Wareheim makes an emphasis ad nauseum about ball security in the offense. Okay, so protecting the football is 1. 2 hands on the ball in the pocket, throwing the ball away when it's time to throw the ball away. Okay, run good plays, right? We'll get into that, but run plays that are beneficial for the offense, okay? And then put the ball in play, right? Your job isn't to throw for 5,000 yards, right? It's not to throw it 80 yards down the field, right? That's not your job. Your job is to get it to the guys who were recruited to make plays with the ball in their hands, right? And at the high school level, it may be the best guy on your team. We designed this play to get him the ball, okay? Or it may be, if everything breaks down, get the ball to the running back on a check down. Okay, quote that I stole. Love this one, and I heard it back when I was a GA. We used to emphasize this all the way back when I was at Rutgers, and I loved it. And it's a quote by Scott Frost, who's the head coach at the University of Nebraska. He said, you don't win by making 1 half-court shot. You win by making 100 layups, right? So what does that mean? It means your job isn't to scramble around, break 3 tackles, complete the ball 60 yards down the field between 2 defenders, right? Your job is to call the play correctly. It's to set the protection correctly. It's to get a completion, right? It's to hand it off when you're supposed to hand it off, okay? And all of those little things, the quote-unquote layups, add up, all right? And the cumulative effect is a high-functioning, efficient offense, all right, where guys get their job done and we're able to move the ball. Okay, so 100 layups, I probably say that more times than I care to on a daily basis to our guys. Our job as coaches, our number 1 job, in my opinion, as the quarterback's coach is to get the quarterback to play decisive, right? It's to get him to play decisive and without hesitation or fear. Okay, play with confidence and then know what to do and do it at full speed, right? And you see that quote there at the bottom, the reason is more important than the decision. Okay, something I firmly believe in. Does that guy know why he did what he did? Forget about what he did, right? Does he know why he did it? Okay. And I'll qualify it with our guys and say the reason is more important than the decision unless the decision is stupid. Right. And you guys all know exactly what I'm talking about. Right. You get the kid said, well, I thought this. Okay. And you're like, that's way, way out there. Okay. But allow for more than one possibility on a given play. Right. Allow for a couple things based on what the quarterback understands. Okay. A couple examples of it here. Right. We're running a drive concept here on third down. Okay. So basically, you got a drag coming from the boundary. Excuse my bad drawing skills. Okay. You got a follow route coming from up top. The running back is going to be the third piece of the triangle that we're creating for two high zone. Okay. We've got quarters protection up here in case the safety drives it into the boundary. And we have an out, a 10-yard out by number 1 to the field. The quarterback knows damn well that in two high, he's supposed to play the boundary. A really good concept on in the boundary. Okay. He goes 1, 2, 3 on rhythm, throws the ball out to the field, gets a completion for a first down. Really good throw and catch. Right. And so in terms of our process in coaching this, right, he comes off the field and say, okay, what made you play the field on drive? Right. And he said, I saw there was pressure coming from the field. Right. I didn't think it was cloud. I had an off-hinged corner. Right. The safety was staring at number 2. I didn't have an apex defender necessarily. I knew I was going to have a one-on-one out here with number 9, Jordan Kress. Right. I trust him. I knew I could make that throw on rhythm. Great. Completion, first down, good guys. Okay. Now, the next part of that educational process, do we want him doing that every time? No. Right. So we tell him, okay, I understand what you did. Great throw, great catch. What we need to be alert for here is the possibility that that corner is going to squat on an out route. The safety is going to get depth, and we're going to have a dead play. Okay. So I understand what you did, but play your rules, and we have a better concept into the boundary. Okay, another one here. We're running a stick concept, right? So we have what we call a Haas route, which is a hitch with the ability to convert to a slant if he's matched, meaning if the defender can affect the hitch. Okay, and then to the field, just a traditional stick concept, a protection go. Some of you guys may call it an MOR, a roll flat. Okay, and then your stick route at 6 yards. Okay, quarterback's rule on this is really simple. 2 high, play the field. 1 high, play the boundary. It's a quick game. He can't switch sides of the field. Okay, so he gets up here. The boundary safety, and credit to Coach Gonzalez and Coach Long because they got us on this one. Right, the boundary safety is standing out by the numbers. Everything about this says this is going to be a quarters look to the field and a cloud look into the boundary. Okay, and then on the snap, we get pressure. Right, it goes to 3 deep, 3 under, a 1 high coverage. Our rules say take us backside. Okay, but the quarterback makes a decision. He plays on time, timing and ball placement, completion, first down. Okay, so get your guys to play decisively and encourage them to do it. Right, so the initial questions in this deal as we go into coaching the quarterback, year 1. Right, what does he do well? Okay, what do we need him to do well in the offense that we want to run? And how do we find a balance? Right, how do we find a balance between what he does and what we want to do? Okay, and each kid is different. Right, so we use the phrase think players, not plays. Okay, it's not about who has the best. If you drew up quarters, we could all think of 400 million ways to beat quarters on paper. Okay, it's not necessarily that so much as it is what do our guys do well and how do we put them in positions to do it. Okay, where do we start? Right, so spring 1, which is where we're at right now, you got to teach them what to do, okay, before how to do it. Why? Because there's 11 guys on the field and they need to be able to run plays, right? So we need to assignment teach them, okay? We need to teach them base defense. So what does that mean? Do we need to teach them every single scheme that they might possibly see? No. We need to give them a couple simple rules, right? Fronts, blitzes, and coverages that we need to emphasize. We need to try and cover about 80% of what we might see, okay? And then the exceptions we'll get to. Right, and then the fundamentals, as you guys know, are an ever-evolving process, right? You get them year 1, you install some base drill work, okay, and then you change it up in terms of footwork, in terms of the throws that they're going to make, right? And it evolves every day. So we go into routes on air, practice 1, and it's truly working on timing and ball placement, okay, the depth of the routes for the receivers, the techniques, conversions, okay, and then as we go, we'll actually start to rush the quarterback during routes on air, right, and we'll give different coverage looks for the receivers. So they're almost practicing simulated game scenarios, even though we're technically on air, okay, so the fundamentals are always evolving, right? Ways that we win on offense, okay, important for the quarterback to understand numbers, right? It's always a numbers game. Okay, do we have more in the box than they do, right? Do they have more in coverage, all right, than we can beat with our pass concept? Okay, so understanding numbers is important. Leverage, where do we out leverage them, right? In the run game, okay, is it an inside technique? Can we run around it? Okay, is it an outside technique? Do we need to run inside of it? Okay, in the pass game, right, we have man coverage. Is it outside leverage man? Okay, what routes do we like against outside leverage man? Where's the defender's help? Right? Those are all important things to understand. And then with everything else equal, it's matchups, right? Where do we feel good about winning one-on-ones? And the quarterback needs to know that. Okay, so if we're going up against man coverage and there are two viable options for man coverage, okay, I can throw the ball to field one or I can throw the ball to boundary one, and they're both good man routes, right? Which leverage do I like better? And then which guy do I trust? Who's going to win against a corner? Okay, so those are all important. Okay, so we start with D-line techniques. Not going to go through every single one here. All right, you guys probably have a pretty good understanding of D-line techniques. Okay, but we emphasize running it where they aren't. Okay, if we have inside techniques, we're going to try and run the ball outside. Okay, and vice versa. If we have outside techniques that are trying to contain the run, we're going to try and run inside of it. Okay, the idea of sound defense. Sound defense, as we teach it to our guys, means that all gaps are accounted for in the run game and all men or zones are accounted for in the pass game, right? This is important because we start to see in the coverage picture, all right, nobody's covering that guy. Somebody's going to move to cover him post-snap, right? So we have to understand that sound defense is kind of the foundation of where things start from a teaching perspective, right? And we operate under the premise that defenses are sound because if they're not, right, and they're not accounting for a certain gap or player or zone, okay, we have the chance to hit some explosive plays. Front identification. Very, very important that we teach our quarterbacks the front, okay, and we're going to get to it here soon, right? But when we do this, I draw a bracket every time around the two guards, okay, and really this is what they look at on day one. And it comes down to this. How do we ID them? Even a center covered and a guard covered, okay, or two guards covered and the center uncovered, right? In layman's terms, two of the three guys are covered. Odd, center covered and the guards uncovered, right? One of the three, and then bare, all three guys are covered. Okay, so we have to be good at identifying those and being disciplined with that. Okay, linebacker DB relationships, and more often than not, we're talking about to the field, okay, which is why we have these acronyms. Okay, SIN, SAM, inside, right? The SAM is inside of the safety, okay, on a horizontal plane. Okay, the stack, they're stacked on top of each other, right? And then sauce, the SAM is outside of the safety. Okay, so in SIN looks, right, and the important thing to understand is these are not 100% and they're not completely all-encompassing, okay? SIN looks more often than not indicate blitz or too high zone. Okay, blitz or too high zone. Why? We have the ability to blitz and then cover down. Okay, blitz and then cover down. Or we have the ability to reroute and play too high zone. Okay, stacks, generally base looks, but still the potential for blitz and cover down, right? And then sauce pictures, more often than not, are an indication of rotation, right? Either to the sauce side, okay, or the safety going to the post, right? And then the other safety, free safety, coming down on the other side based on the safety tilt and the formation. Okay, too high defense. We start by talking about too high defense, middle open coverage, as some of you guys may refer to it, right? One less safety to cover down because we have two high safeties in the shell, okay, which means that a linebacker is going to displace from the box to help with numbers on the perimeter. Okay, we say that the displaced linebacker is in what we call run-pass conflict, meaning he still has a gap in the run game, but he has to relate to perimeter numbers in the pass game, particularly to the side of the running back, because that's where the quarterback's eyes are, right? And then we talk about stack or sin generally being the base looks that we see in too high defense for the reasons that I just talked about. Okay, strengths of too high, sound against the pass because you have an extra guy in coverage, all right, and good edge run support. Okay, but the weaknesses being conflict on your linebackers and safeties. They have to both fit the run and play the pass, all right? And then every time that you do this with your defenders, you put them out on the perimeter, you're weaker here down the middle of the field, internal run support. Okay, and again, some of these are old pictures. Obviously, we don't have game film from New Mexico, okay? Right, but in this picture, right, we're in a 2x2 open set. We've got a sin look to the field, right? We've got a stack look into the boundary, right? And we have two high safeties on a level. Okay, everything about this says too high zone. Okay, we have a linebacker displaced relating to number 2 on each side because the safeties are at depth, right? So I look at this and I say, this is too high zone. This is a base quarters picture. Okay, we get into 3x1. Get into 3x1. Right now I've got a sauce look, right? Well, you told me that sauce is an indicator of rotation. It's one high, okay? And you would be right to say that. However, we said, right, that anytime we're getting one high defense and somebody is rotating to cover, right, the linebackers will be gapped out, meaning we will have a Mike linebacker in the box, okay, a Will linebacker in the box, and the strong safety coming down to cover number 3, right? So in 3x1, we see a linebacker displaced out of the box. He's doing that so that he can relate to the number 3 receiver. And this should tell us that we're getting some type of too high look. Okay, and now this is your conflict player. Mike linebacker is your conflict player. He has a gap in the run game, and he needs to relate to number 3 in the pass game, because if he doesn't, with this safety at depth, we're going to run number 3 on a bubble, block 1, block 2, run for 12 yards a pop. Okay, and so the Mike linebacker's in heavy conflict here, right? Which is why you defensive guys, as you know, like to reduce the front in 3x1, right? Put him in the B gap. So now the Mike can play the C gap and number 3 and doesn't have as far to go. Okay, cover 2 look. Again, very similar in terms of displaced linebackers, right? We've got a sin look here. Okay, 2 linebackers in the box now because the tight end is back in the core. Right, if the tight end displaced, the Mike would displace. Okay, and now the safeties are a little bit deeper and wider, right, and the corners are sitting at linebacker depth, telling us that they're not worried about number 1 vertical. Okay, he's going to squat, try and get hands on number 1, right? We call this cloud coverage, and then the safety's going to play over the top, right? So again, I see the sin look, I see the 2 high safeties, tells me it's going to be too high. Now I look at the techniques of the defenders to determine quarters versus cover 2. Okay, here's a good example of conflict. Now, you could make the argument that this is a one high defense, right? We've had rotation into the boundary by the free safety, right? Rotation into the boundary. But for us on offense, anytime they're going to displace a linebacker, displace a linebacker in 3 detached, and the safety is standing flat-footed over number 3, right? He hasn't rotated to the post. We're going to treat this like a version of quarters, okay? And so your Mike linebacker, so to speak, is now the conflict player. He's the cutback in the run game, and he also has to relate to number 3 in the pass game. And so we're running inside zone into the boundary, right? Inside zone into the boundary, okay, with a bubble concept to the field. This is a good job by the quarterback. He's going to punch the ball to force the hold by the Mike playing the cutback, and now we can get it out on the perimeter, need a better throw, right? We block this thing well on the perimeter. We're running off a free hat at 12 yards deep, okay? We should be able to get 6 to 8 yards on this. Okay, 2 high defense here. Picture's moving around a little bit. We get to a quarters look. We're running 4 verticals. Okay, again, middle of the field is unprotected, right? We teach our quarterbacks to play into the boundary, right? That's his first read on the bender. Bender's got to win across the free safety's face. Okay, safety is stressed. He's got no help in the middle of the field. Okay, who comes to help? The Will linebacker. The Will linebacker drops underneath it, okay, which means that there's nobody to cover the running back on the check down. So again, it's one of those scenarios where if we get into the right concept, we have a chance to be right every time. Middle of the field's unprotected. Okay, I also have an isolation outside that we have the ability to throw. Okay, and if the will linebacker drops underneath the bender, there's nobody for the back on the check down. Okay, one high defense or middle closed coverage, right? Safety rotations occurring either pre or post snap to one side or the other. Okay, generally by formation, and this does not always hold true. Generally by formation, in 2x2, we'll get rotation into the boundary, and 3x1, we'll get rotation to the field. Okay, and the reason for that is that we can determine on defense, we can determine, we can dictate where our coverage players are and where our run players are, right? So if we're recruiting the Mike and the Will linebacker to play A and B gap run, we don't need to force them out of the box, right? We don't need to force them out of the box. We can adjust with our back end players and keep the Mike and the Will in the box, and everybody can do what they're best at. Right? Box defenders are gapped out. We talked about that. Everybody's got a gap. Nobody's in conflict now. So we don't have displaced linebackers. Okay, usually going to get at least one sauce look. Right? We talked about sauce being an indicator for rotation. Okay, and then using the safety tilt and the formation. Right? So if we see that the safeties are tilted towards the field, right, that may be an indication of rotation. Okay, versus if they're tilted into the boundary, right? Are they bluffing? Well, we can use that to look at the other pieces and get full picture confirmation. And then at the same time, right, hey, are they bluff? This is 2x2. Should the free safety be off the hash into the boundary? Yeah, probably, right? That's what he does in 2x2. Okay, strengths of one high, good against the run because we have an extra guy in the box, right? And in the middle of the field is protected. We got a post safety back there on defense. Okay, weaknesses. Defenders are isolated on the outside, right? Insert DB here, island, right? That's how that became a thing. He's on an island. He's isolated. He's all by himself, right? Because there is no help over the top from a safety, right? So guys are isolated on the outside, okay? And then there is no edge run support for the most part. So if you have good contained ends, right, and we want to box everything, we're okay in one high defense. If we lose contain, it's pretty hard to make a play because we're 1-for-1 on the perimeter. And if everybody is blocking on offense, there are no free hats except for the post safety on defense. Cover 3 picture here. Cover 3, right? So this is one where if we were going to do this open forum, I'd be asking you guys, okay, what's different about this picture? What's different from the initial 2x2? Well, we don't have a displaced Will linebacker, okay? We don't have him relating to number 2. The Will linebacker is in the box, right? The Will linebacker's in the box, right? So nobody's covering number 2 into the boundary. And what did I say to begin with about sound defense? If nobody's covering him, somebody is going to move to cover him, okay? So we look at the free safety. There's a tilt in the safeties. The safeties are off levels. They're not on a level like they were before, right? And now we have a sauce look to the field, right? Indication of rotation. Which way is it going? It's going towards the boundary, right? Corners are off, turned inside. This should tell me that I'm getting a cover 3 look with rotation into the boundary. Okay, 3x1, right? Very similar picture to before in the quarters adjustment where we're 3x1 open, okay, except now the Mike linebacker has not displaced from the box. The Mike is in the box, okay? Again, if nobody is covering number 3, somebody is going to move to cover number 3, right? So I have the sauce look. It's telling me rotation. Which way is it going? It's going to the uncovered guy, right? So these are all tools that you can use in terms of teaching your quarterback, right? Where is that guy going? Okay, where's the coverage going to move to? Okay, and then you have man coverage. Man coverage, very similar to the first cover 3 picture we showed. 2x2, linebackers in the box, right? We have a sauce look to the field, rotation into the boundary, okay, except now all the hats are lined up, right? I'm press, I'm looking at the guy, I'm right on top of him, I'm right on top of him, I'm right on top of him, in the post. Everything about this says we're going to be playing man-to-man, okay? And defensive guys, the more you can disguise man coverage, I know our defense does an unbelievable job of doing that, the harder it is for us. So the more you can line up without this guy standing 15 yards back here and move guys into man, it's unconventional, but it's really hard for us on offense. Okay, so here Again, right, this picture, this is a great example because here we're in a 3 detached set. We're in a 3 detached set with somebody displaced relating to number 3. Okay, this tells me, right, very good chance of a too high defense. However, right, if I'm looking at the full picture and I see the free safety moving towards the middle and a tilt in the safeties, okay, now this tells me we're going to get blitz and rotation. Okay, so seeing the entire defense is very important, right? We're running a quick game concept with a hitch, okay, and essentially 3 slants to the field, right? The quarterback's rule is if I have a one-on-one into the boundary, I'm going to take it. If I don't, I'm going to play the field inside out. 1, 2, 3, right? So does he think it's going to be 1 high? Probably, right? But he isn't sure. He isn't sure because, again, the safety could help, right? So it goes back to being decisive. Make a decision and live with it, right? So I say I'm going to play the field. Do I have good leverage? Yeah, I have really good leverage to run a slant versus off and outside on number 2. So he makes a decision. He plays it on time. First down, good guys. And so you guys can kind of see how all the pieces are tying together here, right? Attacking defenses, okay, if we're operating efficiently, they can't be right, okay, outside of making really good plays. Okay, so if defenses are in too high, we have good numbers in the box, run the ball. Okay, put somebody in conflict. Use play action. The in vogue thing nowadays is quote-unquote RPO, right? We call them reliefs in our offense, but putting people in conflict off of run fakes. Okay, and then if they're in 1 high, read somebody in the run game, right? That includes option football for those of you guys who run speed option or triple, okay? Run the quarterback because it gives you an extra blocker with the running back. And then throw isolations. Take your one-on-ones as much as you can get them. All right, identifying blitz. Okay, this is the next part of this, right? So front indicators. We always look at the front. Which fronts go with each blitzes by game plan? Okay, is there anything different about the front, right? Maybe they're a team that stands up the defensive end when they're blitzing from the other side, right? We have to be alert for those things on every play. Rotation indicators. Okay, if they're a 1 high blitz team, whether it be man or whether it be 3 deep, 3 under, or whatever, okay, the rotation is generally going to the side of the blitz, right? So look for your rotation indicators based on the coverage shell. Eliminating possibilities. I know that that guy can come. I know that it can't come from over here. Okay, so now the quarterback can play fast. I don't have to worry about blitz from this side, right? I only have to worry about blitz from this side. And we'll talk about that here in a minute, right? And then find overloads, right? Is the defense balanced or are there way too many guys out of here over on this side? Okay, is somebody where they're not supposed to be, right? If they're not where they're supposed to be, something's probably up, right? As it says on the bottom, if it looks different, it probably is. Okay, identifying blitz in this picture, right? We're in a 2x2 set. I know that homeboy right here can't blitz. Why? Because there's nobody to cover the number 2 receiver. If he blitzes and number 2 runs straight down the field, we're going to throw a seam for a touchdown. He can't blitz. Okay, on the flip side, I have rotation to the post. Okay, I've got a stack look. Remember we said stack allows for the possibility of blitz because we can blitz and then cover down, right? And at the end of the day, look how many guys I have over here and look how many guys I have over here, right? So this one's easy. If this is a pass play, I'm going to slide my offensive line to the overload and protect myself. Okay, a little bit harder in this one, right? This is exactly what we just talked about in quarters. We have a 3 detached look to the field, right? Mike is displaced. Safeties are on a level, which indicates too high. Okay, everything about this says quarters, right? However, okay, free safety off the hash in 3x1 should tell me something is potentially up. Something is potentially up. Okay, I have a stand-up defensive end. Does that always hold true? No, right? But based on opponent, if you watched 6 days of film on TCU here and you said, hey, when TCU stands up the defensive end, be alert for pressure, right? Now I can put the pieces together. I have a press corner looking inside, free safety off the hash. This is a corner blitz look. Okay, so even when a team is really good at disguising it, if your quarterback is disciplined in what he's supposed to look for, right, we got a chance to be right. Okay, running the offense. So we want to teach the quarterback our philosophy, right? What are we trying to get accomplished on every play? The why, so to speak. And then when do we tempo? What's our philosophy in tempo? Okay, why are we running certain formations, right? Why are we running the ball out of this formation? Why are we throwing it out of that formation? Okay, the more he understands, okay, the better he gets a holistic concept of what we're trying to get done. Okay, pre-snap sequence, right? The things that you want to teach him about what to look for, and then communicating and how to call plays. Okay, actually operating, right? We start with the premise that we don't want to give him more than 2 rules on any play. Okay, if this, then this, if this, then that, right? And that keeps it simple for the guy, especially year 1 where we're at, right? If you see this, do this. If you see that, do that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be 2 high, 1 high. Okay, it doesn't have to be cover 4, cover 3. It might be, hey, 2 high, do this. Rotation to the boundary is the only time you're going to play the field, right? Hey, this play is good against everything except pressure from the field, right? So you can kind of narrow it down that way. Heard this quote at one time, I'll give you one exception as a coach. And what that means is if your play is good against everything except one particular look, right, you got a shot. So you can tell your guys, hey, these are your rules. Okay, this particular scenario is the only time when you do something different. If you have to do that for 4 different scenarios, you probably have a bad play, right? If you have to say, hey, against this look, do this look, do that, you're going to confuse the kid. And again, our number 1 job is to let him play decisive. Okay, so keep it simple, right? And then mnemonic devices as much as you can, right? We talked about sauce looks and our Haas concept. Our Haas concept's really good against sauce looks. I tell our guys ad nauseum, Haas versus sauce, Haas versus sauce, Haas versus sauce. And it almost sounds corny, right? But you do it until they can't forget it. And when they get out there and the bullets are flying, they can't get it wrong. Okay, for each play, teach the quarterback why the play is good, right? What hurts the play, right? What do we not like this play against? Hopefully it's only 1 look. Okay, when does he need to check and what should he check to in that scenario, right? The rules and the progression. Where do I go with the ball on this play? And have him practice it on air, right? Here's the play. Boom, here's the look. Okay, have them practice it with their feet. Give them visual cues to practice it. Remember this, guys. At no point playing quarterback in a game do you ever do something based on something that you hear, right? So everything that we do in practice with progressions is all based off of visual cues, right? Because the quarterback's never in a game. He never hears 1 or 2 or 3 in terms of where he throws it. It's always based on what he sees, right? So keep that in mind. And then simple check rules, 1 to 2 run game checks, 1 to 2 pass game checks. That's about it. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys the same play, right, in 2 very similar defenses. We're running a hitch with the ability to convert to a fade if he's matched, a bubble with inside zone read. I'm sure most of you have some version of inside zone or zone read where you're reading the end man. Okay, and his progression in order here. 1, take what we call free access. If you have a guaranteed one-on-one, this is where you throw the ball, right? The hitch or the fade if he's matched. 2, do you have a numbers and leverage advantage out to the field? If you do, throw the bubble. Okay, if you don't have either of those 2 things, read the end man on the line of scrimmage. Right, so in this scenario, okay, based on what's happening, we're getting blitz, we're getting rotation. We have a one-on-one to the backside, his first read, the free access. He can throw this. He can raise up and throw this, right? He doesn't have a numbers and leverage advantage. We've got 3 for 3 out here, dead, okay? He decides, I'm not sure what that free safety is going to do. I'm not sure what he's going to do. So you know what? I don't have this. I'm going to read the email. He crashes. We pull it. Good play for us. Exact same look. We're very close to it. 3 detached. Pressure from the field coming. Free safety's trying to hold the shell and then go to the post. This time, he's going to raise up and throw the hitch. Decisive, right? No hesitation. Catch, ball out, 6 yards. Is either one more right than the other? No, absolutely not, right? The only thing wrong here is to throw the bubble because it's 3 over 3, right? But get him to play decisively and get him to operate the offense. Okay, pre-snap sequence, right? Always identifying the front. Everything starts here. You know, a lot of guys say, well, you know, I look at the free safety, and that's great, right? But there may be something in the front that you're missing before you even get to the free safety. Okay, so we need to be on the same page with the offensive line, right? And we need all our rules start here. Pressure indicators, which we just talked about, starts here. Okay, find the free safety. Where is he located? right? Is he in a normal position? Okay, look for stacks and overloads. We talked about how those are indicative of coverage structure, okay? And then the too many guys rule, or too many guys on one side or the other. And then put the whole thing together, right? None of these are more important than the others, okay? They all work in conjunction with each other, all right? So we have to understand how they work together to build the puzzle, all right? And then lastly, this is a pre-snap sequence. So on the snap, it's important that the quarterback verifies what he sees, right? His eyes should go to the free safety on the snap of the ball, right? And he needs to verify what he sees. Never assume that what you see pre-snap is what you're going to get. Okay, and then the goal, narrow it down to two things, right? Pick one and then know what to do if you're wrong. I can't emphasize this enough if you're a quarterback's coach. Watch the film without the overlays, and don't play the film to get an indication, right, to help you coach the play. Pause it right before the snap. Let him guess what it is, and then you go ahead and guess what it is, right? It's okay to be wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've watched film with quarterbacks, and I ask them, what do you think is going to happen? And then I tell them what I think, and then maybe they were right and I was wrong. And the point is, teach them that that's okay. Teach them to narrow it to two possibilities and then know what to do in both scenarios, okay? And it'll gain a little bit of legitimacy for you, in my opinion. Okay, and then don't be perfect, just be right, right? Don't get it right 100% of the time. You don't need to be 100% on your guesses. Okay, Tom Brady isn't right 100% of the time, right? But Tom Brady may be right 2/3 of the time, okay? But when he's wrong, just be right. He knows how to make it right, right? Where do I go with the football, okay? And that ties into playing decisively. Don't be perfect, just be right. Okay, so I would venture to guess that almost nobody has watched Georgia's defense, right? So I'm going to put a picture up here that I show you this look, and it could be anything in the world. It could be any defense in the world, right? But if you've watched 6 days of film on Georgia, you know that when they're in an odd front with a stand-up buck linebacker, okay, or rush end, they play more two high coverage than they play one high coverage, right? Their complement to that is to get into this look, bring the nickel, drop the buck, rotate, play some version of 3 deep, 3 deep, 4 under with match principles, okay? So if I look at this thing in 3x1, I say I've got press corners, right? It starts with the front. It's odd, right? So I get more 2 high than 1 high, right? I look at the free safety second. The free safety's on the hash, right? If he was off the hash, I might be alert for corner blitz, okay? But he's on the hash in a 3x1, so maybe he's relating to number 3. I've got a stack, maybe a slight sin look to the field, indicator of too high or field pressure. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this is probably a quarters adjustment, right? But just in case, if this is a pass play, I'm going to slide the offensive line to where pressure can come from. So I'll slide to the field. I'll go in with the premise that this is probably too high. And if I see this on the snap, when I put my eyes to the free safety, I know that it's 1 high, and if my 1 high answer, let's say it's an out into the boundary, as I drop, I see this, I play the boundary, right? So don't be perfect, just be right. If it stays too high, I'm good. My eyes are where they need to be. Okay, after the fact, after the play's over and the kid comes off the field, open-ended questions as the coach. What did you see? What happened? What did the free safety do? What were you thinking? Talk to me about what you did. All of them better than what coverage was that. Okay, all of them are better than what coverage is that. Why? Because they allow us to gauge their thought process, right? If you have little kids, right, and you let them ramble on and you see where their brain goes, okay, there's a million different things that they're thinking that maybe you never would have imagined, right? And if you don't understand the rules, okay, or they don't understand the rules, you can figure out why and how you fix the teaching progression. Okay, and then lastly, they may have had a really good reason for what they did, right? We've all been there where the quarterback doesn't do what you want him to do. He comes off the field and you're getting ready to, what the hell are you thinking? And then the kid actually has a really good reason. I knew that was happening, but I knew that in order to do that, this guy was not going to be able to cover that guy dropping out, so I threw the ball there on time, right? So again, and lastly here, it's also our job to not assume. Just like it's their job to never assume, don't assume what that kid was thinking, right, until you ask him. Okay, advanced development, and really this is for if you have a guy who's been playing for multiple years, all right, and he's a guy that you trust. game plan checks. So you teach him to manage the game when he sees things on his own, right? And then not just good plays, not safe plays, but great plays. Get him into attack mode. How do we go attack the defense? And then ultimately controlled freedom. We want to allow him a little bit of freedom. I know for us, we'll get to the point where we can change routes based on leverage, right? Things of that nature, get into blitz checks. Okay, allow him to play the game, give him parameters, teach him what's good and what's not good, okay? Nobody in this chat, I would imagine, and myself included, coaches a kid that has the understanding of Peyton Manning or Drew Brees or Tom Brady, okay? But give him parameters and then let him play. Situational teaching, very important. Get it in early and reiterate it often, right? Emphasize it. It's crucial for decision making, okay? And then his development as a manager of the game, right? So understand, teach them the goals, right? On first down for us, it's get 4 yards, okay? If you can, maybe that's throwing the bubble, maybe it's handing it off, taking a check down. If you can get us 4 yards, you ran a good play, okay? Second down is get half of what we need, and then third down is convert, right? That's the goal. The quarterback's job on third down is to get a completion, right? Hey, but coach, you know, I thought I had to throw it past the sticks. You don't have to throw it past the sticks, right? That's on the play caller to call it past the sticks. Your job is to take your first read if it's there. Okay, red zone, we want to score points. Okay, we always want to reserve the right to kick, meaning if we have points, if we're in field goal range, don't force a throw that potentially results in a turnover. Okay, secondly, we want to score touchdowns if we can, right? And we have to teach them to speed up the process. Touchdowns to checkdowns, touchdowns to checkdowns. If your touchdown throw isn't there, get a completion and throw it away. Backed up. If we're backed up on our own goal line, we want to get at least 2 first downs. Why? Because it helps us win the battle of field position if we have to punt, right? And then 2-minute scenarios are always different depending on what the score and situation are, okay? But educating the quarterback on the difference between end of half and end of game scenarios. Okay, so here, just one clip of this here. 3rd and 11. 3rd and 11, we got a 4 verticals concept. Everybody except the running back is running a route that's going to get us a first down if they get the ball. Okay, and the quarterback doesn't like any of these throws. He feels a little bit of heat, right? Left guard kind of gets beat here. He gets the ball out, doesn't take a sack, gets a completion. Remember, your job is to put the ball in play. We fall forward, 4th and 1. Who knows? 1, we've helped our punter out. Okay, and now 4th and 1. Who knows? Maybe Coach Gonzalez says, you know what, keep the offense out there. We got a chance here, right? So put the ball in play, get completions, situational awareness. Okay, and then really the last thing I'm going to leave you guys with, an idea we call competitive focus, right? And really what this is, it's a fancy way of saying mental reps. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. I know we talk about it every single day. If the quarterbacks are not taking mental reps, they get their ass chewed out, okay? No quarterback gets every physical rep. There's one on the field at a time, right? And it's imperative that they take every physical and every mental rep, really is what that should say, like it is a game rep, okay? So you're working footwork. You're standing in the back. You're seeing what's going on. You're working footwork and reads and decisions at game speed. Okay, and I asked them, are you going to be ready? If you have to go into the game right now, are you going to be ready to operate that? Okay, ready to operate that. And obviously, I don't have game film from New Mexico, so I'm going to use a clip that I really love to show from when I was at Texas here, okay? This guy right here is Shane Buechele. He's the starting quarterback for SMU, right, doing some really good things. Shane lost his job. He lost his starting job at the University of Texas, which mentally is about as tough as it gets. You know, you're the starting quarterback for a flagship program, and you have to step aside and lose your job, okay? And every single day it was this, right? Running plays every single day in the back. I'm going through every single play. This is the Thursday before a game, right? I'm going through the footwork. I'm going through the reads as the starting quarterback gets the reps, okay? Lo and behold, game day comes, the starting quarterback pops his shoulder out on the 6th play of the game in a conference game that we have to win. Okay, this is the drive before the half. Shane Buechele goes into the game. Same exact play as you just saw. Same exact play. Same exact read. Going through the looks, on time, boom, 3rd and 6, completion, extends the drive. Extends the drive. 5 plays later, we run this thing in for a touchdown. We win this game by 6 points. That touchdown was the difference in the game because the kid was mentally prepared to go into the ball game, because every single day was that. Here at New Mexico, okay, we have a kid who sat out most of the spring, right? Most of the spring in Brant Hughes, was coming back from some rehab stuff, right? Didn't get a lot of reps, right? And you can see him, hopefully you can see him up here behind the quarterback in the top right doing the same exact thing, right? Where do my eyes go? Where do my feet go? Working the same exact thing. Because he knows when I get back in the game and I get my chance, right, I'm going to be ready for it. I'm not starting from square one. And you know what? Brant's going to have a chance, regardless of how many reps he took, right? He's going to have a chance to come in and know what to do and operate. Again, guys, I appreciate your time. Really appreciate you being here. Hopefully you take something from this. Again, you know, I didn't invent the position, obviously, and I have been fortunate to learn from a lot of really smart people. So like I said, my direct messages are open. Whether you follow me on Twitter or not, you can shoot me a question about anything in this presentation. My email, for those of you guys, again, it's J as in Jordan, Salkin, SALKIN, @unm.edu. If you have any questions, please feel free. But good luck to you guys. Good luck to you guys in your seasons. And as you move forward with the development of your quarterbacks, if I can help in any way, or if you have a suggestion for me, you know, you have something that you want to add to or suggest that I change, I'm more than receptive to that kind of stuff. Please encourage your guys to stay safe. Enjoy your Easter weekends. And then, Greg, if there was anybody who messaged any questions or anything that you wanted me to answer, probably a good time now. Unless, other than that, I'm good.
Coach, it doesn't look like there's any questions down here at the bottom, but a lot of great comments from different coaches. Huge thank you to you and the whole entire staff. Before I pass it off to our head coach here in just a quick second, I'm just going to repeat what we said earlier. Anything that you guys need, we did record these. We will get the video to you. Just shoot my email, what segment you'd like, or any of these coaches' contact information. Just send it to the group chat one last time. And then having said that, I'm going to pass it off to Coach Gonzalez, our head coach, who wants to say thank you at the very end.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. We really appreciate you coming and checking out our Zoom clinic today. We tried to be one of the first schools to be a little bit innovative and try and get some information out to you. Like Greg said, we're free to offer this up to anybody that would like a copy of it. I do ask that you go to our website, take the Lobos Pledge. There's some great opportunities there, whether it be going to our season opener or some other great prizes that you guys will have. I know you'll be swamped with your seasons also. But please feel welcome to go onto our site and take the pledge. The pledge is about protecting New Mexico, protecting your community, stay safe through this coronavirus, through COVID-19. We're all in this together, and we want to keep fighting and keep everybody safe. Thank you for joining us. We'll do some more of this as we get through this together. I appreciate your time. Wonderful. If you have any questions, please contact our coaches that did the clinics today. They'll help you out with anything that they went over. And then we also will be able to put this on the website. And we'll have copies for you guys available if you would like it. Thank you for all you do for us. We look forward to seeing you in the fall. Let's get our wonderful game back together. Go Lobos.